Truth is, I created LuLaRoe as an offering for women. Through the years, we've seen trends come and go. But honestly, here's the scoop. We've never gone away, and we are not going anywhere, because this is LuLaRoe.
Hello, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Sarah, and on this channel, I cover anti-MLM and scam commentary. If that is your sort of thing, I would love for you to stick around, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, and with that, let's get started. The other day when I was scrolling through TikTok, I came upon this.
Boutique owner at LuLaRoe's Kickoff. Of course I have extra battery packs for all the live sales and pictures.
I'm a boutique owner at Kickoff. Of course I'm rooming with a stranger.
I'm a boutique owner at Kickoff. Of course I'm living on iced coffee and energy drinks.
I'm a boutique owner at Kickoff. Of course I packed 5 extra suitcases.
I'm a boutique owner at Kickoff. Of course I packed a tripod.
So yeah, LuLaRoe is still a thing. And then I also saw this video. It almost feels surreal to watch that because, as so many of us know, LuLaRoe wasn't just like peak MLM culture. They were the blueprint. All of the live selling schemes that we're seeing nowadays, they were the ones that kind of jump-started that. They figured out that if you turn shopping into like a live event online, people will spend more money. And for a while, it worked. Some comments that I saw on that second video that we just watched. People are still falling for this. This is still a thing. This one made me laugh. How do I get started with your company? I'm really looking to go into massive debt while enriching people like 5 to 6 sales levels higher than me. They are still framing this like it's a low-risk business opportunity, as though the documentary and the lawsuits just like never happened. And now, instead of calling them retailers, they're calling them boutique owners. It, I assume, maybe sounds more professional or more legitimate. They have tried to maybe rebrand that whole aspect, but underneath it is the same MLM model. And they are still actively recruiting new boutique owners. I signed up for one of their upcoming live webinars, and maybe I'm being nitpicky, but for a company with as much legal trouble as LuLaRoe, you'd figure they have this part figured out by now. When you click their terms and conditions, it takes you to example.com. They didn't link to the terms and conditions. Like, nothing says legitimate business opportunity, like some placeholder text where the legal fine print is supposed to be. And just as an aside, this entire website is like littered with issues. They have other areas of the website, like when you're on their income disclosure page, that if you click to certain other places to redirect, you get a 404. One thing that is super wild about LuLaRoe is that at its peak, it had like 80,000 sellers. But when things started to fall apart, instead of pivoting or rebranding, they kind of just remained stagnant. Most MLMs, when they hit these sort of scandals, they try to reinvent themselves, completely maybe switching up to a different product line or like altogether new branding. But it seems like LuLaRoe's founders are just determined to stick it out as is. To me, it looks like they are clinging on so tightly to that original MLM playbook that they had so many years ago. It's like stubbornness rather than strategy. The other option that I was thinking about, and this is for the people who maybe never left, is the sunk cost fallacy. Even for the sellers who very well remember everything that happened, leaving may not be that easy. Once you've invested so many years into something, especially in an MLM where your identity is so directly tied to success, walking away is not just as easy as quitting a business. It's about admitting that you wasted your time, your money, your energy. You may have completely ruined personal relationships. That's why consultants who are maybe not making any money or are consistently losing money will stay, because leaving means that you need to face that reality that it really wasn't worth it. At this point, so many people know what LuLaRoe is, and it's not that just so many people moved on with LuLaRoe in the past. It's that LuLaRoe content has become part of like internet culture. ever. It's basically a punchline at this point. Like, here, watch this.
Rating outfits I wore while selling LuLaRoe, part 1. I spent about 2 hours today going through my photos, pulling pictures for these videos. So I hope you guys are ready. I sold LuLaRoe for about 4 years, and let's take a look. Let me tell you, was I the queen of pattern mixing? Yes. Look at this little baby too. This is in 2015, so more than 10 years ago. No, exactly 10 years ago. Can't count. Look at the shoes. Okay, it's a no. I thought this looked so good, so glam. It's giving holiday. It is hideous. Because everything was such a weird shape, we would oversize things to make it look a little bit different and to then belt it to make it fit. Especially if you're petite like I am. I was the queen of wearing things that were oversized. This was a 3XL size dress, and I am more bold prints. Look at that shirt with a little neon sparkly orange skirt. It's a no. Am I laughing so hard in this picture because I know I look absolutely ridiculous? Or am I actually enjoying myself because I was making a lot of money at the time? We'll never know.
It is not a mystery as to why LuLaRoe has declined so much. It had a massive moment, a full-on documentary that broke down just how disastrous of a company this is. When people hear LuLaRoe, they don't think of like a trendy brand. They think of pyramid scheme, moldy leggings, and a company that scammed thousands of people, which makes it so weird as to why they're still marketing themselves in the same way. They are not trying to reinvent things or shift the perspective. And just because there was a switch of calling the reps boutique owners instead of retailers, it still really isn't landing with people. A lot of people saw LuLaRich. They know about LuLaRoe. I'm just really not sure who this is working on because it's not going viral. It's sort of just there and people have come upon it. And the only reason that it's being reshared, these short form videos on TikTok, is because people are kind of roasting them in the comments. Here are just some of those comments. Wait, I thought we left that scam in 2014. How are we still doing this, babes? And I liked this one. Theranos leggings. And that made me laugh, but I guess one key difference is that Theranos was actually shut down. MLMs, though, they kind of can somewhat just still keep going, still chug along. LuLaRoe did have to settle, but the people that were in charge then are still running the company. No one went to jail. No one was forced to stop. LuLaRoe is obviously not the massive empire that it used to be, but it is still here. And judging by the fact that it's showing up on TikTok, that means that they're going after new recruits and a whole new generation of people being told that this is some great opportunity. Meanwhile, there's all the people that know actually what went down with LuLaRoe and where all the clothes are ending up now. There's an entire subreddit called LuLaKnow, and it's dedicated to spotting LuLaRoe pieces in the wild, which at this point means mostly at thrift stores. People will post like leggings that they find at Goodwill and things like that, which sort of gives all that proof that these are not the investment pieces that a lot of reps or consultants were promised. And it's worth mentioning that very recently in November of 2024, LuLaRoe lost a $164 million lawsuit. To summarize all of this, they scammed their supplier, they funneled money into shell companies that got caught, and now a jury is making them pay up. And of course, the consultants are out here just acting like none of this has happened. And I assume that has to be the strategy. You really have no other option. You ignore the bad press to keep the machine running, and you hope that people forgot or maybe never saw that information in the first place. Meanwhile, we have this, which is LuLaRoe's 2024 wrap-up. In the caption, there's a part that says, "From the ups to the downs, the changes to the triumphs," which I thought was funny because a $164 million lawsuit really does sound like a down. And then they also say, "Embraced every moment with open hearts." It's just a little funny the way that they're framing all of this, when in reality, shortly before they published this post, they experienced one of the biggest financial hits they've ever gone through. And that is the thing. LuLaRoe has to act like nothing happened. They keep moving on with business as usual, which makes it so weird to kind of look at their online presence with all of that in mind. So that sort of gets me thinking of like, how do they keep recruiting when their reputation is basically ruined? And I came across this as a potential answer by sponsoring a teen beauty pageant. And this wasn't just some small partnership deal. LuLaRoe was a presenting sponsor for the televised event for this. One funny thing that I came across is that they posted this video of some of the contestants. I don't know if they're saying Teen Miss Earth USA. That's what the pageant is called. But on the screen, it says Team Miss Earth USA. Like, did nobody catch that? I don't know. Maybe they were saying team, but I'm assuming it should have been teen. But to really discuss this doesn't sit right with me as a marketing choice. LuLaRoe's whole thing over time has been mostly moms selling to other moms. That is the image they built everything on. So maybe I'm wrong in saying all this. Maybe I'm wrong in saying they haven't rebranded, but if this is their rebrand, is to go and try to market to teens, the product in which they're selling isn't really making sense to me. If we scroll through some of the products that they're selling, I'm not here to comment on fashion choices, but it doesn't really seem like what I think I know of Gen Z and teens nowadays wearing. So trying to pivot to a teen pageant feels weird. If they're going for a younger, more current look, you'd think the product line would match that. Anyway, so after seeing that they were trying to pivot to a younger audience, I was curious to see if I could find out how many approximately sellers were left. So I live in Wisconsin, and on their site, you can use a tool. It's LuLaRoe's Find a Retailer tool, and I found 26 retailers in the entire state of Wisconsin. So obviously that is not a lot. Wisconsin isn't huge, but it's also not tiny. And if this is supposed to be a thriving fashion brand, you would expect to have way more retailers than just 26. Then I was just curious, so I looked up Florida. There's about 90 retailers there. And then in California, there was more than 150. I think I counted even more than 160. And that spread made me sort of start thinking maybe they don't need to make a comeback nationwide. They just need to stay alive where their pitch is still landing. And maybe that's why some of this is still working. I can't say for sure about California, since obviously it's such a massive state with a lot of different demographics. But in more rural or conservative areas where the importance of faith and family and the flexibility of being able to work from home is still so important. So if LuLaRoe can hold on to those pockets of people, they don't necessarily need to go viral again. They just sort of have to stay visible. And that kind of slow and quiet survival really does match to what their numbers are showing. They have their 2023 income disclosure statement right on their homepage, which is actually pretty surprising. MLMs almost always bury these statements somewhere in the footer of their website, or you have to search it out. And that's even if they decide to share them at all, because there's no purposeful regulation that tells them that they need to. So from what I saw, over half, 52% of LuLaRoe sellers made between $1 and $5,000 in gross profit. And remember, that is before all of the other expenses that they are going to incur, like inventory, shipping, and advertising. And then another 20% either made nothing or they lost money. So right off the bat, from what I see here, nearly 3/4 of sellers are barely breaking even, if that. And then there's recruitment, which is the part of MLMs that's supposed to be the real moneymaker. Only 10% of sellers qualified for their leadership bonuses. And then even among that small group, 76% earned less than $5,000. And the median gross profit across the board, $945 for the whole year. Even if you have no idea anything about income disclosure statements, I want you here with me. The median gross profit for these reps, $945 per year. And I will say that you can solely make money by just selling clothes now. You don't need to recruit a team, but like in every other MLM, what we're seeing here is that the actual cash is at the top. It's with the recruitment. And of course, I'm sure that they're aware that people are very skeptical of recruitment-based income that MLMs shill. So one thing that they've done, they stop using the term like team or downline, and they say that you can start a boutique. And I worry that that may work. And I say that because if someone sees that someone is running a boutique, they're likely not going to question if it's an MLM. But of course, there's an obvious difference. When you own a boutique, whether it's online or a brick and mortar store, you are building that brand around you, your taste, your values, the things that you want to purchase to then sell in your store. You get to choose your suppliers. You get to choose your margins. You're not locked into the company's products or their reputation. But as a boutique owner with LuLaRoe, you're still operating under their umbrella. You are selling their clothes with their prices under their policies. And that is not true ownership. It's just being a commissioned salesperson. And MLMs love to blur that line. They want to blend into the gig economy so that they can seem more legitimate, so that you can kind of seem like you're amongst Etsy sellers or other boutique owners. But the thing is that in an actual side hustle where you have control of your business, your income will depend on your work. Your income isn't going to be so associated with recruiting people to also be a boutique owner. In an MLM, a major part of your income depends directly on how many people you recruit and how early you got in. So yes, you can make money by selling the clothes. But if we're going to ask who is making the real money here, the retail profits are small money. Recruitment, big money. And to move on, I want to briefly touch on what LuLaRoe's website currently looks like. I was clicking around and it just feels like it's not being updated regularly. For example, in their new arrivals, they have Christmas clothes. It's the end of March. So I was like brainstorming as to why this might be, and I had two thoughts. It's either that they're not regularly updating their website, which is obviously not a great look, or it's that they haven't sold through this winter inventory, meaning that there's a lot of stuff that they need to get rid of that is just kind of sitting on shelves. And another thing that I felt was worth mentioning is that LuLaRoe also just sold off its East Coast distribution center in South Carolina. They are still leasing part of it, but based on kind of what I gathered, selling off real estate is something that companies will do when they need cash. So when I put all of that together of like a website that is like littered with redirect issues, potentially unsold inventory, and like a lack of any like real innovation, I personally think that LuLaRoe is just trying to hang on rather than really move forward. And a quick side tangent that I felt was worth mentioning is Smile. It's an MLM that is selling kids' clothes. And I didn't realize this until I was researching for this video, that this company was started by Deanne's daughter and was a spinoff of LuLaRoe itself. And the Stidham family as a whole is very involved in MLMs. And when I say involved, I mean like launching their own MLMs. They have relatives that have started Honey and Lace and Agnes and Dora. So I'm like, is this like a family business model? One company starts struggling, we start a new company, and we all kind of work together to like rebuild. Even if LuLaRoe eventually does collapse and die out, I do not think they are going to disappear. It's probably just going to pop up again somewhere else. Anyway, back to LuLaRoe. All right, so I know that was kind of a lot to really bring us to this point, but let's talk about the bigger picture. Why MLMs keep coming back. Why do they never seem to really disappear? Even when they shrink, even when they have massive lawsuits, they don't go away. Why is no one stopping them? LuLaRoe lost a $164 million lawsuit, and that's not even the first time that they were in court. If you watched LuLaRich, I'm sure you remember those clips of them in the deposition, and those were from the Washington State case. That lawsuit laid out exactly how LuLaRoe was running. Like how they quietly changed their refund policy, or how they pushed sellers to keep buying even though they weren't moving their inventory. And of course, how the real money wasn't in selling the clothes, it was in recruiting. In that lawsuit, they ended up paying $5 million to settle. That one obviously didn't shut them down, but it did force them to acknowledge, at least in the legal sense, that the business model wasn't operating in the way that they claimed. And I guess you maybe have no other choice this, but to ignore all of that, because from what we see, the way that they talk about the company, it's as though these things haven't happened. They've been hit with these huge settlements, and then they were exposed in probably one of the most watched public and high-profile documentaries on an MLM, and yet they're still here. This is a video posted in late 2024 with their CEO, Deanne.
Are you rebranding? What's going on with LuLaRoe?
Are you still that leggings company?
Are skirts going out of style?
What's next for you? Are you changing your business model?
Truth is, I created LuLaRoe as an offering for women. Through the years, we've seen trends come and go. But honestly, here's the scoop. We've never gone away, and we are not going anywhere, because this is LuLaRoe.
So it's kind of surreal, right? Like, they are not backing down, which brings me to the question that I can't stop asking myself. Why? LuLaRoe is just hanging on. And I don't know if that's because of luck or they're in denial, but I'm really trying to figure that out. And I obviously don't know the answer for sure, but here are a few of the things that I keep coming back to. One reason may be because legally, they're not doing anything technically wrong, at least not in the way that the law defines it, based on my understanding. The big legal line between MLM and pyramid scheme is that if the money is coming from recruitment and not actual product sales, that's when it tips into being a pyramid scheme. So if a company is pushing leggings or shampoo or supplements, even if anyone is barely making any money, it still, in terms of the law, is a business. And that is sort of like the loophole. But it always just makes me wonder, are these laws actually protecting people? Because right now it just feels they're so generic and not strict enough that MLMs have no issue really skirting around it. LuLaRoe did have to change, but they didn't have to change that much. They just need to make sure that they remain on that side of MLM. And one of the other things that I couldn't stop thinking about, LuLaRoe wasn't sued over something like contract disputes. It was sued over the way the business is run. And that is what always gets me. The company can just go to court, settle the case, and then keep doing what they're doing with just a few minor tweaks. And it always just makes me wonder, like, do lawsuits even matter in this industry? Or are they just like the cost of doing business? I personally do not think LuLaRoe will ever get back to what it used to be. After everything with LuLaRich, I mean, it exposed so much. It made them part of pop culture. Even if you didn't follow MLMs, there were so many people who were watching that documentary when it came out. And even though most MLMs will deal with lawsuits and scandals, LuLaRoe's downfall was like packaged into something people really wanted to watch. It wasn't just another MLM. It was the MLM disaster story, the MLM fail. And I think they are now fully trapped. They are too notorious to fully start over, but too damaged to ever really rebound.
In one word, LuLaRoe to me means belonging.
One word that comes to mind when I think of LuLaRoe and what it means to me is family.
LuLaRoe means to me freedom,
confidence,
community,
togetherness,
family.
LuLaRoe is not dead, but if we're being real, it is not thriving. So if I had to sum up LuLaRoe with one word, I'd say expired. And with that, that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please consider leaving a like on this video, a comment, and of course, subscribe. It really does help to build out this channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!